My bridesmaid made fun of how he looked in our wedding film. The next thing he did broke everything. Hey, there, Reddit. I need to get this off my chest and maybe get some advice on how to fix it. What happened makes me so sad that I can barely think about it without thinking I'm going to have a breakdown. This has been giving me a lot of trouble, and I don't even know where to start. You could say that this post is a mix of a confession, a rant, and a request for help. Before everything happened, maybe someone would have told me to drop my mean friends and kept me out of trouble. First, let me go over the basics. I married the love of my life about 6 months ago, or at least that's how I felt at the time. We talked about getting married for 7 years before we finally did it. He's 33 and I'm 34. We were great together, or at least I thought we were. Before our wedding, everything looked great. I was sure that getting married would be the start of something even better, something that would make everything we had worked for last. The hardest part is that I know it's my fault. Maybe things wouldn't have turned out the way they did if I could go back in time and change what I did. I want to, but I can't. Now I'm stuck, feeling like my whole world has fallen apart because of some bad choices I made. The worst part is that I'm not sure if I can fix it. I don't know what to do next because I've lost so much.
Yeah,
I guess you could say I want some help or maybe just some understanding because I'm so full of regret right now. I've always known that my friends were mean. I knew they had a sharp, sometimes mean sense of humor, but I didn't think much about it for a long time. They had never been mean to me, so I didn't think much of it. At least it looked like they were always nice to me. They would say mean things about other people, talk about them behind their backs, and make fun of things that, looking back, were really pretty bad. It never seemed like a big deal, though, since they weren't doing it to me. I just thought it was their thing and how they got along. I may have told myself that they were just being honest or direct and that it wasn't about me. I told myself that they were just like this, rough around the edges, because I didn't want to be the one to tell them they were wrong. However, I can see how badly I let this bad behavior go unnoticed. My first date with Ben should have been a wake-up call. I remember that they were, well, pretty rude to him. But I didn't think about it at the time. I thought they were just testing him or maybe having fun with it, and he would get used to it in time. I thought he'd think it wasn't a big deal, too. In the end, I thought he'd either laugh with them or at least learn to ignore their jabs. But the truth is that I never thought about how upsetting their behavior really was because I was used to it. Ben wasn't like them, you know? I realize now how mean I was to expect him to get used to it when he wasn't being sarcastic or tough in that way. He would never make fun of someone's looks or say nice things about their way of life without meaning to. He really did deserve a lot better than how they treated him. But I told myself over and over that it would pass. It was hard for me to see how much it hurt him because I was too focused on keeping the peace and keeping my bonds. I guess you could say I was used to being in that bad group because I never thought to question it. I believed that if I ignored it, things would get better on their own. I see how ignorant I was now that I look back. Someone I cared about was hurt by them, and I did nothing to stop them. My friends were horribly rude to Ben, and they stayed that way the whole time we were together. Back then, I didn't really stand up for him, and now I feel bad that I let it happen for so long. They never really got used to how we worked together because they were always saying little things about him or putting him down when we were with other people. I never told them they were wrong. It didn't bother me, so I either didn't say anything or joined in. Because I thought they were right in a strange way. It sounds awful, doesn't it? But the truth is that later on, I realized how much my friends' actions and thoughts had changed me and how I had started to adopt their ways of thinking. Thoughts that are harmful. When you spend a lot of time with negative and critical people, it starts to affect how you think. It wasn't just about Ben anymore, it turned into the people I hung out with. I guess I turned into a mean girl too. My friends would often say mean things or make fun of Ben, and I would laugh along with them. I remember that Ben was just being himself one time when we were all at a bar. My friend who was always the center of attention began to make fun of him for being dull. Everyone at the table laughed out loud, and I just sat there feeling weird. I didn't say anything, but Ben looked down at his drink and seemed awkward. I didn't stand up for him. I did nothing but sit there. That wasn't the end of it. I wish I could say I stood up for my friends and called them out, but I didn't. I didn't say anything when they made fun of how he dressed, talked, or the things he liked. The making fun of never stopped. They would joke that he was too quiet or too serious, or they would say bad things about his work as if he wasn't trying hard enough. There were times when I could see the pain in Ben's eyes as he pulled away, and I felt bad about it. I tried to tell myself that it wasn't a big deal, though. They were just kidding, right? Sure, didn't everyone do it? I guess the worst thing about it is that I took part. My friends would sometimes say something about Ben, and I wouldn't stop them. Instead, I'd add my own jab. They didn't even think about it, it was more like a reflex, they just followed them. Any longer was it about Ben, it was about fitting in, about not wanting to be the person who was too emotional or too soft about the jokes. Even though I knew it hurt him, I would laugh and nod along. It wasn't like I was just a passive spectator, I was involved. Really strange how everything went wrong and got out of hand without my knowledge. At first, every time one of my friends did something wrong, I would just say sorry to Ben. They would make fun of him and put him down, so I would grab him, say sorry, tell him they didn't mean it, and tell him they'd get used to him. I always tried to make him feel better by making reasons for his anger and telling him it wasn't personal, they were just kidding around, or playing, and it wasn't that bad. I thought I was keeping him safe by making it seem less bad. I did say sorry more often at first, but over time I stopped. At first, I wasn't aware that I was doing it, but I kept finding reasons for their actions. It got to the point where I told Ben he was being too sensitive and exaggerating. At first, I didn't understand how much I had changed until I really thought about it and tried to make sense of it all. At first, I would say sorry for my friend's mean or derogatory words, trying to protect him and make him feel like it wasn't his fault. Little by little, though, the apologies stopped coming and the excuses began to creep in. I told him that maybe he was too sensitive and that they didn't mean what he thought they did. I suggested that he let it go. How did it happen? But over time I felt like I was one of them. I was no longer going to protect or stand up for him, I was joining in. That change happened so fast that I can't believe it. I was saying sorry for my friends and trying to protect him from their mean behavior one minute, and then I was putting him down with them the next. I went from making him feel better to telling him he was overreacting. It seems like a dream, but now I can see how bad it was. I understand that everything I did was bad and that I caused a lot of harm to him. I didn't even see it happen because it's so messed up. I stopped thinking about what was important, Ben and our relationship, because I was too busy trying to fit in with my friends and be liked. We had only been married for a few months. At least I thought the wedding was very nice. I had a dream birthday party that was beautiful and low-key. My friends, who were also my girls, were very important to me on the big day, and I loved having them there. Ben and I went on our honeymoon after the wedding, and it was magical.